Hello, everyone. Welcome to Success Talks. And today I have a very special guest. And you all will be very happy to know this gentleman because of all his achievements that he's had. And beyond his achievements, he is a fantastic human being as well. So I'm so happy and excited to welcome Haritosh Srivastav. He is a distinguished storytelling coach and the founder of Confident Storytelling Hub. As a certified world class public speaking coach and mentor, Haritosh brings inspiring and hands on approach to the art of storytelling. He's also an author of a book, and that book is also an Amazon bestseller. The title of the book is Small Town Bigger Dreams, and he is on a mission to empower 1 million people by the year 2035 by helping them to discover their true voice and confidence by his storytelling formula. So, very warm welcome to you, Haritosh. So excited to have you here with me on this podcast. And I know we are going to have tons of takeaways today.
Thank you so much, Beena. I'm equally very excited to be in your show. And yes, as you said, whenever we meet and connect, we have so power conversations. So I hope our audiences are going to learn a lot of things and most importantly, start sharing stories that they have inside.
Wonderful. And I know, Haritosh, your own journey starts with a story. And you all won't believe, he was a software professional doing so well across all over the globe. He served in different countries, UK, US. But how did this entrepreneurial journey start, Haritosh? I know it is not a small decision. You left your job, a high paying stable job in UK, and you moved back to India for your dreams. And I really want to know, how were you feeling at that point when you took this decision, this bold decision to build this dream venture and left your high paying, well settled job in UK?
Thank you. That's a big question, and I think we can spend the rest of the talk about that. No, I'm just kidding. I'll try to give a sneak peek of what exactly happened and why did I choose to be here. So there were I spent, as you said, I come from a very small town. I spent about 17 years in IT, worked with some of the top IT service provider companies. In my last profile, I was working as a portfolio manager. All those were going great, but somewhere I was not feeding my purpose. And this was, after a point of time, you start feeling like I have to do something. I have to go beyond what the normal is. And we all know the COVID, the big C that happened in 2020. And it is very interesting because I went to UK. I came back from US. I went to UK on 23rd of Feb 2020. And we all know within a couple of weeks, they were all locked down. And during that period for about 10, 11 months I was all alone, so in a foreign country, in a two-bedroom house, I was living all alone. And the groceries used to come outside the door and I used to collect, and then that was the only human connect. And during that period of 10 months I had a lot of time to reflect to really what I want to do. I mean, of course, the career is going great, but this was not serving my purpose. So then the idea came of writing my own journey, because I know a lot of young folks who feel that no, they come from so and so background, they can't do big things. So I said, if I come from a small town, studied from Hindi medium, many of people do not believe that, but I studied from Hindi medium and did engineering, and I can do so many things. Anybody who have the dreams, desire can do that. So the first phase happened when I wrote the book. It became a bestseller, and then the spark came that okay, maybe I can have a better alternate career as well, because once you become an engineer, you're always an engineer. But since I did something different, the idea came, okay, maybe I can try something else. So then I did a lot of soul searching with the help of a coach, and discovered that public speaking and storytelling is one such thing which I'm really passionate about. So Then we went through a lot of again programs and courses and workshop, and many times people don't believe, but now when I say that I've spent over 25 to 30 lakhs in upgrading myself, that's when they understood that I was really serious about upgrading myself, and all of this was leading to something. So after doing all of this, I discovered that I really want to help people become a better speaker and storyteller, and started with small experiment, became successful. And the next question that you asked, and that is a beautiful story that I can tell, is one such day which made me that this is what I want to really do. So it was like a Saturday, uh, and I was in the UK based in Stoke, and it was one packed day. Like from morning 5:30 a.m. till 6:30 p.m. I was into back-to-back sessions and attending sessions and doing workshop and interviews back to back. So after doing 12, 13 hours, I was physically exhausted because I was sitting on a same place and all. But mentally, I was completely 100% away. And that day was the realization that if I can do something, I never used to do it for my day job. For others who do not know, I was very strict this timing to this timing. But for 13 hours, 12 to 13 hours, I was still enjoying, and I was ready to go on for more. That's when I realized that I really want to do this. So from there, the seed happened that no, I want to go deeper. I want to do it as a full-time profession. And then it took me a couple of years, a lot of trials, hit trials, misses, failures, success, and eventually I took the call and I came back last year on 21st July 2024, which was also the Guru Purnima. So we came back to India and I became a full-time storytelling coach. So that's
Wow.
the smallest version of my story.
Wonderful, wonderful, and very inspiring story, Haritosh. I must say that. And I especially connected to this feeling where you said that, my body was exhausted, but my mind was fully charged. Was that defining moment that made you realize that that's your passion? And or there was a different story that made you realize the power of telling stories, and that's why you decided to go with this particular niche of storytelling?
Yes. So I would say this was one such defining stories for me. Getting into coaching business was this was the story. The power of storytelling came when I started teaching people and we connected, and there were others as well. More than my own story, when I was able to dig deeper into their stories and find out they had pure gold and diamond. You know what happens is, because we are so much close to our story, we feel that our stories are not important. Nobody's going to hear. But when you have a coach who can help you unlock that, and then you look at the perspective, it's where the magic happens. I'm going to tell the story, and you probably know
Yes,
Sunny ji.
we are
We were
coming to
talking
that.
about that, and yeah, and we were doing this story exploration session. And he said that no, once upon a time, I used to go to the schools, outside the schools, and people don't used to let me enter. Even the guards will not get me. And after some time, I was going to some other school as a, so my own story is one part of the equation. But when I am able to see people and unlock their stories and power of their stories, we were talking about uh, Mr. Sunny, and we were having this story exploration session, and he casually mentioned that no, he used to go to these schools and they will not allow him to come inside the school, and going from there to a place where he was invited as a chief guest to multiple schools. And he casually said that, and I had to really stop him. I said, do you understand what just happened? It is like a full circle back movement. It's like a Bollywood movie. Scene one, you're not getting entry, and scene two, you are the chief guest. And that's when he realized the power of his own story. So when such things happen, that's when I get the most joy as a storytelling coach, to be able to give people the lens and the focus required to see their own story and see how magical it is.
Wow, this was powerful again, Haritosh, because somewhere, deep down, I also feel that it's stories only that connect us to the real emotion of life. And in a noisy world like today, we all need it. Somewhere we all need it, because we really need to have that connection with people, and it's very difficult in the coming in these times. So just walk us through, what are the biggest mistakes that people are making when they are trying to tell stories these days, Haritosh?
Okay. So there are many mistakes, and we all are learners. And one of the biggest mistake people do is they are focusing only on about themselves. Now, your stories are your stories, but it's not about you. It's about your audience. So, of course, I have hundreds and thousands of my own story, but at this point of time, what is relevant for the audience? For example, I took the Sunny G story a few minutes back. I could have talked about my own story or any other story, but it would not have been relevant. So telling relevant story is one of the big mistake people say. People tell irrelevant stories, or they don't have stories at all. That's another question. The second mistake is telling the story which is too long and too short. And it is one thing I'll tell you which happened yesterday as well. So I went to one of the coaches community long back, and I took a session, and the coach is now trying to compile a book of his students, and he sent me one sample that can you review this sample. And I was looking at the sample of the student, and the student basically wrote a life lesson of about 8 pages. And uh, and I was going through it and going through pieces and pieces and pieces, and I kept wondering where did exactly the coach come into the picture. So after spending about 7 pages, his part comes only at eighth page, and the whole story ends in about ninth page. So I had to send him feedback that probably most of it is irrelevant for the book that you're trying to write. So having too long or too short story, it ends before it even starts, is also another mistake that a lot of people make. So I'll leave it to these two.
Oh, wow. But I think these are $1 million points for all of us to note down.
Absolutely. These
Yes.
are real life examples I'm giving. So, yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so guide us through what is your go-to storytelling framework. Do you use something like the hero's journey or a different model? What is it for you?
Awesome. So, I'm gonna reveal a secret for the audience. It is reserved for our confident storytelling hub. Uh, there are many storytelling framework, but at the end of the day, if you see, there is a pattern, and taking up that pattern, I have come up with my own framework, which is very simple. I call it as 5C formula. So the first C is context, where you want to give a background of what is happening, who's the story all about, what is the whole thing that is going to be.
The
Second C is,
situation, basically, right?
yeah, it's the context, the situation is where you also use hook to get the attention.
Hmm.
The second situation is called conflict, which is there has to be some problem. If there is no problem in a story, there is nothing which is lacking, there's no improvisation needed, then the stories are boring and nobody wants
Yes.
to hear or listen or watch a boring story. So there has to be some problem, some challenges. So the
Yes.
second C is the challenge. So context, challenge. The third one is the cure. For a story or for a challenge to overcome, you just can't overcome that. Okay, I was going through a problem and then I got healed, or I was struggling with my coaching business and suddenly I got a lot of business. It can't have, it has to have a reason, it has to have a cure. So that's the third C. The cure can be a product, it can be a service, it can be a guru, it can be a book, something which is the, what do you call, catalyst to change, something which causes the change. So the third
Yes.
C is the cure. The fourth one is the change itself. So what happened afterwards? I was struggling with my coaching business. I enrolled into Beena's program, and Beena gave me the framework, tools, template required, and now my coaching business is flourishing. Now this is the change. So you give the context, you show about the challenge, then you introduce the cure, then you talk about change, and then comes the most important element of a story, which is the carry out message. What? So you know the full form of WIIFM, right? Veena,
What is in it for me?
what's in it for me? We all, by default, we humans are selfish by nature, and this is nothing wrong, right? We all want to know why should I listen to this interview? Why should I enroll in a program? Why should I go and buy this thing? So you need to, as a storyteller, give them the answer. And most of the times it has to be explicit as well. So for example, I'm telling this story because I want you to become a better storyteller. Or if you tell better stories, it can improve your journey, it can improve your career growth, it can improve your influence. That's the specific words in it for me point. So you want to do that. So the framework is context. What is the second one? Hmm?
Challenge,
Conflict. So
cure,
context, conflict, cure, change, and then
change,
carry
and
out.
carry out message. Wonderful
That is a
framework.
simple framework that I use, and you can find. I always say that this is not. I'm not the inventor of the framework, but I've learned from so many different frameworks to make it very easy for people. So that's when they
Wonderful.
apply. It also is part of Hero's journey. It also has a lot of other frameworks reference, but that's my own flavor to it as well.
Wonderful, lovely, Haritosh. I think this is if somebody can take away only this one point from today's podcast, their life is going to be sorted. Okay, thank you for this. Thank you for being so
Thank
open
you.
to share this. Now, one common problem that I see a lot these days, because we are in a world where all of us are preparing content, and stories are also that emotional part that triggers somewhere within us, and that's where we start connecting to people. But a lot of times coaches, healers, leaders, they feel that when I am talking, being vulnerable is very tough for me. So how do I be vulnerable and professional at the same time is something to be learned. That's what I really feel. So how do we create that balance? Please share some tips and
Very
nuggets
good
on that.
question, and I love that question because yes, you need to be vulnerable, but at the same time, you shouldn't come across as a weak person, right?
Absolutely.
And the analogy I give about this is that you need to show your scar, not your wound, right? Which means that if you are undergoing certain challenges, if you are undergoing a problem, be it physical problem or whatever problem that you are uh, going or that you want to change for people, if you yourself are going at that point of time, it may not be, again, back to the question of carry out message, you're still learning, you don't have anything to offer to the world, so it may not be relevant. So you need to not share the wound, but once the wound is healed, once you have overcome a challenge, once you have learned something, once you have healed yourself, you are physically well, mentally well, whatever it is, and you want to talk about that, that's when it becomes scar. Just like if we get a cut, the first thing is that we need to get that clean, we need to get that ointment applied, get the handy plaster and all, and once it is done, then you'll see a small marks. You can show that mark, why did it happen, what were the learning. Similarly, you need to share whatever you are comfortable. Vulnerability doesn't mean that you need to show all parts of your journey all the time, even if you're struggling right now. Only show the part, first of all, which you have healed yourself, which you feel would be relevant for the audience, and which you are comfortable if somebody else share with somebody else. Because if you're sharing something, it's very important to know that it is going to live on internet forever. So share only what is going to live on internet forever and you're comfortable with it.
Wonderful. This is a very strong message, and really a very good takeaway from this whole podcast, that don't, talk about the entire episode, but
Oh
talk
yes.
about the learnings, right? What
Yes.
happened in that situation, and how did you come over it, and what did you learn, and how did it help you? So wonderful takeaway. Another brilliant golden nugget from you, Haritosh. Let's
Thank you.
next question, because I really want to run it fast for all of us to learn so much from you. So tell us something where a situation where you actually helped a founder to bring out their story or bring out a moment in such a powerful way that It was not just about an idea. It became something which could shake people. So I know you helped me also in my keynote, and you help others also. But how do you do that? And like, just talk about one of the instances that what happened in the whole situation.
So I'll talk about the process and then the instance as well. So the process for me is very important because I can't help anyone become a better storyteller unless until we go through the whole journey. So typically, if somebody is enrolling, I mean, there is a simple membership. People can enroll, they can start sharing. But if somebody is really serious, they have a high stake presentation. Then what I want to do is I want to spend a lot of time listening to that. And even if you remember in our
Yes.
time when we are going through for the first couple of sessions, 90% of the time I was just listening and asking questions. So, as a coach, it's very important that you listen to your coaching without bringing any personal bias, without interrupting the flow, and without breaking the. A lot of time, what happens? People take a pause because they are trying to recollect, and this is where the difference comes between a novice coach versus an experienced coach. The novice coach will disdain, as they say in English, silence. The moment there is a silence, he or she will interrupt and try to say something. But an experienced coach will honor the silence and let people process, because that's when the stories are going to come out.
Yes.
So this is where initial couple of sessions is where people have to really go deep, talk about their stories, and then we look at what is the objective, which stories we can pick, and what would be important for the audience perspective. So
Yes.
of course we had you for the keynote that we worked upon that. We had Sunny ji also prepare the keynote. We also had a person from Switzerland. His name is Prem, and he had a presentation for Davos International Conference, and he was looking for a help. So we again did the similar process, and there also he came up. So he's a founder of Butler Coach Academy, and he had a presentation in front of a lot of business owners coming from different countries in this Davos Business Conference. So there we worked and handpicked his couple of his stories of customer service or going beyond expectation, and it worked wonders. So that's one such example.
Wonderful, wonderful, Haritosh. Of course, we are going to share your links under the podcast. So, just in case somebody wants to reach out to you, they can do that. Now, moving on to the next question, tell us one small storytelling tweak that our listeners can implement today that would make a huge difference in the way they tell stories.
Absolutely. I'm gonna give a very small hack, uh, and that can really help them is stop saying that I'm going to tell a story. A lot of people say, no, oh, listen, I'm going to tell you a story. Don't do that. You're going to get people away from you.
Wow.
Just start with the story. The second thing is, instead of telling very long and artistic and linguistic language, keep it simple. As they say, KISS, keep it simple silly, or keep it simple stupid. Because storytelling is not about showing how much knowledge you have, what kind of artistic skill. If you have, you better write a book or write a poem and all. But
Yes.
if in general we are talking about professionals or coaches or business owner, it's all about going to the level of your audience and making sure your message is passed. So keep it very simple. Don't use very long sentences, and don't use a lot of jargons, and try to use more dialogues versus, I told to Beena that are you going to do this podcast, and then Beena said, okay, let's think about it. I said, Beena, are you going to do this podcast? Yes, let's do it. Right, it is as
Yes.
simple as that. So those are some of the tips people
Yes.
can use starting today.
Yes. So just keep it conversational, just like we talk to a friend, just
Yes,
simple, like KISS, kiss. Keep it
yes,
super simple. That
keep it
was
super
great
simple.
framework, by the way. So yes, one more question from you, Haritosh, is that let's say I don't have a story, okay? Like I'm really feeling confused here, but मेरे पास तो कुछ है ही नहीं, I don't know what to speak, and I don't have a story. Where do I start from there then?
Okay, first of all, let me break that myth that we all are living, breathing stories. And just say, in Three Idiot, Amir Khan has a very favorite dialogue, right? That no, we all are surrounded by machine. I tweak it. He said we all are surrounded by stories. So if you think you don't have stories, there are few things that you can do. Number one is you can start telling other stories. There are a lot of parables, fables, etc. available, and you can take that. For example, let me take one of the example, right? There is this story about Chinese bamboo tree. I'm pretty sure you would have heard that, right? Is that no farmer is there and he gets the Chinese seed of the Chinese bamboo tree, and somebody told that it takes time, but it is amazing. So he puts that seed, he ducks the soil, puts the seed, and starts putting water and everything, and nothing happens for a week. He's little disappointed, but he continues. Then nothing happens for a month. Then nothing happens for a year. But he somewhere he remembered that it takes time, but it does works wonders. So he keeps on doing that for another 4 years, 4.5 years, and then one day he sees one sapling coming out of it, and then within 6 weeks, the bamboo tree goes on to become 60 feet long.
Just
Now, what's the message? Was it not working for 4.5 years? No, it was working. It was trying to make a base for it to hold a tree of 60, 70 feet long. So sometimes if you're doing a lot of work, a lot of effort, you may not immediately see the results because you're probably building the base. But once you keep on doing, and if you don't quit, you persevere, one day or other, sometime or later, you will see the result, and it might be as grand as the Chinese bamboo. Now, this is not my story. This is not your story. This is called a fable. So there are so many hundreds of fable available. You can
yes.
find it on some of my social media also, or otherwise as well. You start incorporating that in your presentation, in your conversation, and from there you can start looking into your own journey. Now, second part of it is we all are, whatever life we have lived, we all have had many instances where we had a lot of emotions. So if you think about emotion, most likely there is a story. If you thought about when you were super happy, maybe something happened, there's a story. If you think about when you were super sad, there is a good chance there is a story. If you thought about you felt betrayed, maybe there is a story. So for every emotions, if you look at your journey, you can find there might be a story behind. So that would be a quick hack for you to think about all the big emotions that you have felt in your lifetime and think about the story. I'm very sure you will never run out of story.
Yes, totally. And now we are feeling so powerful that we have millions of stories with us.
Oh
Why? Because
yes,
we've had so many emotionally charged moments. In fact, we
yes,
have them every single day, isn't it?
we we
So
do.
you made our life super easy, Haritosh. And with that, I'll move to the next question. So tell us about one episode that you remember where a poorly told story lost the game for the person. And what was the lesson we can learn from that episode?
Okay, that's. I'm not going to take any name or anything because the purpose is not to malign anyone. But I went to one of the conferences and there was this keynote speakers, and there was a lot of this build up to his stories. Was one of the sponsors as well, and I was really looking forward to the story. But the moment he opened the story was like, thank you so much for having me. This is an afternoon session, and I'm sure, and it's a very difficult session, and I will try my best to keep you guys awake. And he kept on doing that for another 2 minutes. So whatever enthusiasm I had actually went down. Even though he had a very powerful story, he was somebody who came from again like a small town. He literally was a cab driver, and from there he went on to build a business of empire of over 100 crore rupees. Right, that's the powerful story. But the first couple of minutes is when I got completely tuned off, because instead of telling or giving a hook for us to look forward to, He was more focused on what is the timing, where you are, and thank you for showing up. This is called unpleasant pleasantry. My coach says this is called unpleasant pleasantry. Yes, you want to thank the organizer, you want to acknowledge the audience, but not at the start of your presentation. Once you get them you get them by the hook, you get them by the attention, then you can do all of that. So was the one of the learning that I had recently, and it was very interesting.
Wonderful. And believe me, in this world full of distractions, you can't lose out on having great hooks, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wonderful. So now we want to be inspired by you, Haritosh, and I would really request you to tell us one of the most emotionally powerful storytelling moments for you on stage or in life.
Okay. So for me, I think there have been lot of emotionally powerful moments in terms of storytelling. I think one of them happened recently where you are part of also Confidence Storytelling Hub, and we did a challenge for 21 days. We call it Video Confidence Challenge, where every day I was giving them some prompts. What was so gratifying for me was people, even though they feel they're not good enough, but because of them helping each other, they starting showing up. So people who were really camera shy on day one were struggling with the content. What should I post? How should I post? By the end of this challenge, they are super confident. I think for me, more than my own result, for me, the result of these people who are now more confident or now who are now vulnerable to share the story. So there's a lady named Deborah, and I'm going to publish her interview very soon in my social media. She told me that before this challenge, she didn't had any social media. She had only LinkedIn, and she was really scared to share her story. But because I put that if you want some additional bonus point, you need to post it on one of the social media. She said I took the courage. I posted it on LinkedIn, thinking that people might not like that video. People, what will people think? We all have those negative thoughts.
Yes.
But after she posted the video on LinkedIn, there were many people who reached out and saying, "Thank you for sharing the story. We feel so much connected to you, and we're looking forward to learn more about it." So, going from a place where somebody is not comfortable coming on videos, not comfortable creating videos, to be able to get such compliments, I think that is the biggest result or biggest satisfaction we have as coaches. So for coaches, for us, yes, we want fame, we want money, we want more members, more thing. But it's only when our students start getting result, we see the real impact of our work. So that was one recent example.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Haritosh, for being such a divine light, such a pure channel, and having such strong intention of helping your community. Because this is one thing that is really required in today's world. Finding coaches like you who genuinely care, who genuinely give their 200% to their communities is rare. And I am so happy that I'm connected to one of those coaches, and you are sitting right here with me and we are recording this podcast. So with having said that, we I learned so many things in today's podcast. Just to give a short recap, I would just sum up some of your points where you told us that, tell relevant stories. Hanging on with too long stories is not a great thing, and just have short and crisp precise stories. You also gave us a clear framework of 5 C's, which were really golden and mind-blowing. You also gave us one very practical tool where we show our scars, not the wounds. So there's such a balance you helped us to create between being vulnerable and being professional. Thank you so much for that. Use a lot of fables, which you also narrated one of them today, the bamboo tree one. And use emotionally charged moments. If you don't have stories, reflect. When did you have your most emotionally charged moments for yourself? And always remember what is in it. for them in your story so that you stay super relevant to your audience. So these are some of the points which I could recollect. If I missed out on something, please feel free to add on
You
further
did
to
a
it.
fabulous job. I'm feeling good that yes, something good came out of this podcast.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Haritosh, for
Thank you.
sharing all these brilliant nuggets of wisdom with us today. And honestly, I feel your approach is not just about being better communicator. It's about building deeper connections with people. And this is what all of us can feel when we hear this podcast. So your intention, your effort, everything came out so brilliantly well. And for those who want to connect with Haritosh, all his social media handles will be shared under the podcast so that you can easily connect with him. And until we meet next time, keep telling stories that matter. Thank you so
Telling
much,
stories, and
Haritosh.
please subscribe to this podcast or wherever it is coming, because I know Beena, I know the kind of value she brings for her social media, for her community. So I am very very excited to see who other guests he's going to bring. Even before this podcast we had one guest and it was amazing to hear about his journey. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon or whatever it is to get notified. You don't want to miss any of the future episode. So do subscribe and follow her everywhere.
Thank you so much for being so generous. And thank you so much for coming, Haritosh. Means a lot. Thank you so much, everyone. Please share your learnings under this video, under this podcast, so that when we write down our learnings, we kind of wire ourselves for success. So go ahead and do it. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. God bless you all.